Hello, good morning. Welcome to JoyNews Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlimli. We're on DTT because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. Coming up this morning, government on its knees as labor unions reject 15% increment in base pay for the 2024 working year. Details as negotiations resume today with both parties praying for an amicable resolution. Also, parts of the country still experiencing power cuts following Energy Minister's announcement last week that the fate of the country lies in the hands of WAPCO. We have details of that, of the fact that we may be going back to Jumso for you. And review LI 2462 to ensure it aligns with the principles of sustainable development and to provide adequate protection of the country's natural resources. That's a call from the Danger Development Association to Parliament. We have more for you on this. Details of all of these plus business coming up shortly. Government is on its knees as labor unions reject 15% increment in base pay for the 2024 working year. The unions are asking government to increase the base pay by at least 60%, down from the initial request in excess of 70%. With less than 48 hours to the presentation of the 2024 budget, government is hopeful it will get a deal with the unions today. Deputy Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Joshua says the labor unions will continue to reject government's offer if it is not considerate. They are hopeful, however, of reaching an amicable agreement with government. I've been joined via Zoom by Ms. Austin Game. He's the labor consultant and former employment minister. I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Game. Hello, Mr. Game.
Yes, Aisha, thank you.
What's your reading into what has transpired so far between labor unions and government over their demand for a 15% increment in base pay?
Thank you once again. Well, I may not want to call it demand. I think it's a proposal both of them have tabled. And when proposals are tabled, the law, which is a practice, enjoins both parties to make every reasonable effort to reach agreement. I think that is what they are trying to do. And I think that if they can continue on that tangent, they should be able to reach agreement.
The labor unions say it will reject any offer if it's not considerable. But the 60% proposal, I mean, is it too much to ask for?
Well, like I said from the beginning, this is a proposal. It may sound a little high in the face of Ghana's adversity today, but the truth is that we have a system ongoing where we pay people for putting in appearance, not because of productivity. So therefore, I think that is only a fair reflection of what the system, what we have planted in our DNA in this country. We don't have good pay system, and so any opportunity labor will get, they will have to go for the highest bid possible. And so that's what they've done. It's for the employer to surrender by giving them the detailed information about the economy and what they intend doing before even they attempt to go to Parliament tomorrow to read the budget. They must lay out, according to the law and practice, what exactly the picture is to labor, as was done by previous governments before. If they can do that, I think they will be able to reach agreement, something reasonable that both of them can live with.
So this is a clear picture of what is happening right now. Government says that I mean, we're having issues with the economy, and so we are tight. Our hands are tight. Now, labor unions also say that, I mean, everything has skyrocketed, I mean, in the last few years. And so your salary cannot really buy the things that you used to buy because the prices have quadrupled. So these two people are on the negotiation table. What should be the posture of both parties?
Well, the foremost is for the employer called government. We don't want to call government political. Government as employer must demonstrate that they are very serious people. They would like to cut down costs, and it's a demonstrable thing. It's not going to be a figure of speech. They have to demonstrate to organized labor that they seriously would like to consider cutting down costs in this area, and they will hold them to account for it, because they'll go to Parliament tomorrow to read the budget, and they will have to show that in the budget, so that both parties can have assurance that the mess up in the economy will not be repeated next year and going beyond that. And so it's for the employer in particular, coming under Section 97, to share necessary information which is relevant for the negotiation, and give labor the commitment that they will be held accountable, they will not overspend, and therefore mess up the economy and create further problem for them again. I think that should be there, because labor is not the one in charge, and because we don't have a planned economy management in Ghana, obviously they will need a lot more information so they can cooperate with the employer, which is government, to ensure that we do not unbalance ourselves. That's what it is.
What's your own expectation of the finance minister as he presents the budget tomorrow, having followed all the labor agitations having to do with pay rise, conditions of service, and even the unemployment rate as we speak? What would you expect in the budget as far as the labor front is concerned?
Well, honestly, if they had talked to some of us, we wouldn't have run into this kind of mess we are in. What they should have done is to engage labor long time, but it's not late. They can spend the whole day today into midnight and make sure that they lay bare without any excuse everything, including the grants they get, including the income they will get from our tax system, including how much they'll get from other sources, everything bare on the table. And then how the cost structure should be brought bare onto the table. No excuse whatsoever. When they know that you are honest and what you are saying is true, as was done before in 2015, labor will respond positively. And they may even not want to take anything at all, provided the people who are the servants of the state, because I think we have raised the bar of governance to another level in Ghana, which is out of the norm. The government officials are the servants of the state. They are not to lord it over the people. They are to provide high quality leadership. And therefore, they must provide every information, all necessary information, to enable both parties to collaborate with each other, and they will support them. But when they know that you want to spend and go overboard, it means you turn the economy into something else. And so if they can do that, you'll be surprised that labor will not even want to take a personal. It was done in 2015.
I'm grateful for your time. Austin Game is labor consultant and also former employment and labor relations minister. But parts of the country are still experiencing power cuts. It follows the energy minister's announcement last week that our fate actually depends on the West Africa gas pipeline to enable us get gas. There has been a heavy reliance on gas as the cheapest in fueling the country's power generation plants. Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Asa Benjamin Boachi, says our inability to pay WAPCO may take the country back to darkness. He joins me via Zoom for more on this. Mr. Memboachi, I'm grateful for your time this morning. Last week, the Energy Minister admitted that our continuous supply of power will definitely be dependent on government's ability to pay WAPCO to supply gas. As at yesterday, a good part of the country were still in darkness. Is that an indication that we are unable to pay WAPCO for gas supply? What's the reality, Mr. Boachi?
I think, for WAPCO situation, it's not a problem as of today. WAPCO is transmitting at full capacity. So we're doing today around 100 MMscf of gas. So the problem today is not gas. We don't know if people have power challenges. It may not be coming from gas transmission at this point. But the bigger question is, how long are we going to be enduring this? And how many times would we have to explain to the people that one supplier or the other, has withheld supply, and therefore we're not able to send power to homes and businesses? And that, for me, is the bigger challenge for us to deal with. And it comes back to ensuring that power generated can be sold.
Ben Boachi is the Executive Director of ASEP. Hello, Mr. Boachi. We're having a bit of a connection problem. He'll be getting back online to tell us more about this. Mr. Boachi, are you back? Right.
I think
yes,
the power went off.
I lost you briefly. The power went off.
Surprisingly, the power went off.
You're interesting. All right. So, so you were making the point.
We need to be able to address these recurrent problems to ensure that power generated can actually be sold and money recovered to pay the value chain. At all times, we need companies to do the transmission of gas, and all of them would want to shut down or demand that money is paid. So the problem is not WAPCO. The problem is not paying WAPCO. And therefore, if we know what the problem is, then we need to address those problems. What I even fear is the state of the state enterprises or institutions like Gridco and VRA, who, because they are state entities, may be suffering and not be able to come up with the real situation that helps all of us to address their challenges, because they cannot shut down unless the system collapses, as we have seen in some cases from Gridco. They will keep generating and or transmitting, but that comes at a huge burden to those institutions, and they may at some point not be able to deliver the service that they're supposed to deliver to the Ghanaian people. We need to watch that.
Is it a hopeless situation, Mr. Boachi?
I wouldn't say hopeless, but it's a crisis situation. To have a power sector that cannot pay 70% of its bills, that is really a difficult challenge. So government has to always intervene with hard currencies that could have gone into development. But simply because we cannot generate power and sell power and make money, government has to sacrifice the budget to address the under-recoveries in the energy sector. And we need to reverse that.
How did we get here, Mr. Boachi?
I think we have been explaining the problems, and they keep deepening and worsening. We need to get to that point where we map out the problems. We haven't comprehensively mapped out the problems to be able to address them. And even where plans exist, how do we implement those plans to ensure that, we're able to deliver power to the people? And those are the challenges. So it's essentially, for me, it's financial and managerial, which has escalated into technical. problems.
And if we have to be tough on ourselves to deal with these problems, I mean, what should we be doing at this moment?
I think at this moment, I mean, we need to get ECG fixed as quickly as possible. We cannot turn it into business as usual, that they cannot collect revenues, and it is fine. Everybody's happy with it. Regardless of how much adjustment you do to the tariff, if the structures to recover revenues are not tight enough or they are not stringent enough, we're still not going to make money. And you can see that even though we have made about 100% adjustment to the tariff, revenue requirement has actually declined, over time, which is a signal that we need to fix the management side of things and fix the financial side of things for the sector to function. We don't need ministers explaining to us what the problem is all the time, when it's a system that is commercially viable and supposed to, generate returns, revenues, and pay the value chain.
So if the problem is not fixed within the next weeks, we're going to celebrate Christmas in darkness?
I'm not sure government will let that happen. I think they would do everything to keep the light on. And that, for me, is even the worry, that we're trying our best to sustain inefficiency. Because government will sacrifice schools, sacrifice roads, sacrifice water, projects, and pay under recoveries. We have the light on. And that, for me, is really dangerous. We need development. And the way we develop is to ensure that people who are consuming the power pay for the power and not the budget of the country.
But we are paying so much money, Mr. Boakye, and we are still sleeping in darkness.
Well, the reality is that we are not recovering that money. So
it's going into individual pockets?
Only a few people are paying, and that also has its own management issues. What is collected has management issues. First, we're not collecting enough, and even what is collected has management problems with it. So we need to fix those important problems for us to be able to ensure that we have a power system that don't keep us stuck in the way we are doing.
Is it only an ECG problem?
It's not only an ECG problem, but they sit at a position where they collect revenues to pay everybody. So if they suffer or they are not able to perform, it affects everybody else in the value chain. So that is how...
I suspect the lights have gone off again, but Ben Boakye is Executive Director of ASEP. He's been trying to explain to us what the problems are with our power supply and the reason if we do not tighten our belts and actually fix the problems, we may go back to darkness. I'm grateful for your time. Are you back? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Boakye, for those explanations. Now, let's get on to other stories. The director of the Center for Coastal Management at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Dennis Walanyo Aheto, has highlighted the need for Ghana and Africa as a whole to embrace a blue economy. He says since the ocean covers almost 70% of the Earth's surface, it is too large a resource to be ignored, and that Ghana must take advantage of the fact that the country is one of the 38 coastal countries in Africa and invest in the blue economy. Professor Aheto was speaking at his inaugural lecture on the topic, Our Oceans Securing Our Common Future Through Transformative Research.
Is the fact that if you take the globe, the surface of the earth, 70% is covered by water and 30% covered by just land. We live on land, but yet we are not concerned about the sea, the river bodies, our lakes, our rivers, and so on. The question is why? I think this is a question that should be one of our take-home messages from this lecture. Asking ourselves that we live, we don't live in the sea. Everybody lives in the sea, at least for now. Of course, there are attempts to create some recreational because of the enormous academia. So why don't we take care of our oceans because of the enormous opportunities it gives to us? Coastal management is still something that marine and coastal development issues are really still not on the mind of academia and even government people. So there's still a lot of work we have to do to be able to bring that to the attention of policymakers, to decision makers in our universities, and to really, so it's still in a very nascent growing stage. So why are oceans our common future? I've already said that the oceans cover 70% of our Earth. Our oceans are a common future. But, Mr. Chairman, permit me to just explain what a common future means. The term our common future was first introduced or mentioned by the report of the World Commission on Environment and Development, so I did not coin it. But the Brundtland Report, 1987. It targeted multilateralism and interdependence of nations in the search for sustainable path. The report recognized that human resource development could lead to poverty reduction, gender equity, wealth redistribution. And these, in the report noted, was crucial for formulating strategies for environmental conservation, and it also recognized that environmental limits to economic growth in industrial and industrializing societies existed, claiming that poverty reduces sustainability. Poverty reduces sustainability and accelerates environmental pressures, creating a need for balancing between economy and ecology. In my context, in this inaugural lecture, I just want us to relive that vision in that report because it has since been thrown overboard.
Climate change poses a significant threat to crop production in Ghana, creating conditions that enable foreign pests to thrive and cause extensive damage to agricultural yields. To address this challenge, the Plant Protection and Regulatory Service Directorate under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, in partnership with Accelerating Impact of Climate Research for Africa, has established an early warning and rapid response system to effectively manage and control the spread of these foreign pests. There's more in this report.
Agricultural production has greatly changed over the years due to global warming, with foreign pests adapting swiftly to the changing climate, resulting in severe destruction of agricultural yields. This issue, head of plant pathology Amadou the invasion of the fall armyworm. Addressing this issue, head of plant pathology at the Plant Protection and Regulatory Service Directorate, Amadou Garba, noted that the establishment of this early warning and rapid response system is poised to enhance the country's ability to combat this pest effectively.
Just around 2016, we didn't have what we call fall armyworm in the country. Fall armyworm is not from Ghana, it's an invasive, but now it's with us. is as a result of climate change. And it's just not fall armyworm. We have several others. I think very soon, we are hearing of a new pest that has been identified. Very soon we are expecting that communication to come from CSIR. So if we have this collaboration, you see that it will be a good way for us to go. Sometimes we wouldn't have to wait for long. When the alert is there, we quickly get the information and then we'll start working on the ground. So just after the signing ceremony today, we expect that by the first week of December, we should have the implementation of this MOU into force, where we can start working together.
Director of the Biotechnological and Nuclear Agricultural Research Institute, Dr. Michael Osai, indicated that this framework would enable the country to take proactive steps in tackling this pest.
We don't want to be taken by surprise by any new introduction. What is the freshest on our mind is the fall armyworm. When it broke, we were taken by surprise. Before we could say jack, it was all over the country. Farmers were crying, they were losing, and other things. So we don't want to be taken by surprise anymore. So we are putting in place what we call an early warning and rapid response system. Basically, to just put in place mechanisms where before or as soon as a pest is introduced or becomes a major problem in the country, we know. Then we can take quick action. We already may have developed response mechanisms or tools that are ready for taking action against those pests. So as soon as we detect it, we move into action and make sure that we are able to control it. Other countries have this in place, so they are not taken by surprise, and if there are any new introductions, they are able to deal with them immediately.
The Accelerating Impact for Climate Research for Africa signed an MOU with 11 partner institutions for the development of the framework of the early warning and rapid response system for pests and diseases. Estan Kromer's report for JoyNews.
3 days after two brothers were allegedly shot and killed by a Forestry Commission task force at a community mining site in Mfante, the divisional office of the commission in the area remains shut. The youth of Pakukrum in the Hafuano Southeast District and the family of the two murdered brothers have issued a 4-day ultimatum threatening retaliation if justice is not served. But Emmanuel Bright Kwaku, who visited the area, reports residents of Mfante fear the task force would return.
A saddened mother, a sister left in excruciating pain. Wails continue to emanate from the home of Abdul Samed Razak, 35, and Hashmil Usman, 25, after the two were allegedly shot dead by security task force of the Forestry Commission at a mining site. The family is in pain. You've killed a human like animal. The two were protecting a mining site at Infante, a suburb in the Hafuano North municipality, when the security task force besieged them in a swoop. So we understand this is the very spot one of the deceased was laid when he was shot by the security task force right here at Infante. As you can see behind me, that's some equipment that were bent by the security task force when they came here. I haven't really cited much of operations happening, but the few people we found around tell us today there haven't been any working by the miners. The forestry officer drew a line on the ground that we shouldn't cross, but one of the deceased did not heed and went ahead to cross it. That's when they started shooting him. They shot severally, but he survived them. So they surrounded him and hit his neck with the buttstock of their gun. The other was shot from behind through his skull. Some miners at the site sustained various injuries, with 4 critically wounded. In 2021, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources commissioned a community mining scheme to be operated by the Enso Group of companies.
So this is the junction leading to the 2 mining sites. On my left is a route to the Enso Group of companies mining site under the Infante Community Mining Scheme. And this is also another route leading to where the incident happened.
The miners, however, claim both sites are under the community mining scheme. But there are fears of a possible return of the task force to comb the community.
Because gunshot, straight from site or more incident happen or site or from site straight to.
We are scared because they might come back. Back at Pokukrum, there is simmering tension as families of the deceased and the youth threaten to avenge the killing.
Justice.
After burying them, we demand justice within 4 days. If it doesn't happen soon, we will retaliate. He left behind 5 children. Who is going to take care of them? If the laws are working, it must work for us too. Else, Forestry Commission officers will not operate in this constituency. Officers of the Forestry Division in the area are under lock and key following the threats.
That's one of the checkpoints here for the Forestry Commission. And when we came, the occupant here, or the one who is guarding this particular place, is locking down this particular checkpoint. He tells me he fears that the miners can come around and then attack him, and that's why he's locking this particular facility. We understand that throughout the day, officers here at the Forestry Division of Mankranso have not been at post today. They've locked the offices and nobody came to work today. We understand the checkpoints along this particular stretch too. The officers who were supposed to be at post were also not around.
Meanwhile, the Ashanti Regional Police Command is probing circumstances leading to the gun attack and consequent death of the 2. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kwekru.
The absence of a jury forced the Kumasi High Court to adjourn hearing of a case in which a police inspector is standing trial over the murder of his girlfriend at a dome in Kumasi. Inspector Ahmed Chumesi of the Police Special Weapons and Tactics Unit is accused of shooting his girlfriend Victoria Dapa, also known as Majua, multiple times at close range with service rifle on April 20 this year. But the 7-member jury abandoned the court over unpaid allowances since last year. Ohemin Teria of our security desk, who was in court, reports the court granted a request by a prosecution to allow the Ghana Institute of Languages transcribe a tree audio evidence on a pen drive tendered in court.
Prosecution, led by Principal State Attorney Ernest Aye, told the court, presided by her lady, Justice Rosemary Bautosu, to grant prosecution's request to transcribe an audio evidence submitted to the court on a pen drive. The court, presided by her lady, Justice Rosemary Bautosu, granted prosecution's request for the Ghana Institute of Languages to transcribe the audio evidence into English. The court, however, adjourned sitting to December 4, 2023. Relatives of Victoria Dapa, also known as Majua, were however incensed by a decision of the prison service to use an alternative route to transport Inspector Ahmed Chumesi, also known as Tycoon, to the prisons instead of the normal route they know.
I don't know why they always play cast hide and seek to us, because hide and seek make people annoyed. You see, every day when we came to court, they bring a takum in front of the door. But today we saw takum passing by outside the court. We didn't know how they escaped takum from the court. That's why you see noise around. All the families and the sympathizers are very annoyed. And at the same time, we are telling the government to, help the jewel to do whatever they want so that they can return to court and help the needy.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ohiminteria reporting.
We're still live on Joy News. We're coming to you from our studios in Kokomlemle. We are also free to air on DTT. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll bring you business.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The University of Ghana Business School says it will continue to provide quality business education through various partnerships. According to the Dean, Professor Justice Baole, the school would engage various key stakeholders within the economy in its quest to bridge the academia-industry gap. He was speaking at the Access Pensions Young Scholars Fellowship Award ceremony.
The UGBS Access Pension Scholarship is a scheme which seeks to provide financial support to needy and brilliant regular main campus students of the University of Ghana Business School. Professor Justice Baole called for more support from corporate entities.
The program is a promise of 200,000 Ghana cedis annually to support needy but brilliant students. Madam Chair, I'm happy to inform you and the gathering that there was a very, very elaborate process to select the students who have become our first cohort of the Access Pension Scholars, Young Scholars Fellowship Program.
Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Nana Abba Apia Amfu, tried the scholars to be an epitome of excellence.
These scholars will go on to contribute to society, drive economic growth, and propel positive change. They are the embodiment of hope for a better and more inclusive world. As we outdoor this partnership today, we also extend an invitation to other corporate institutions to support this noble endeavor. This is an opportunity for all of us as members of the corporate community to step forward and demonstrate our commitment to extend quality education to underprivileged students.
Board Chair of Access Pensions, Ernest Abebu, pledged to expand the project to other universities.
The Access Young Scholars Fellowship Program, born out of our ethos of community service, represents our long-term commitment to directing a significant proportion of our CSR budget, corporate social responsibility budget, towards tertiary education. We hope to expand this program to other faculties and universities in the coming years as the Lord blesses us with more resources.
Now, women entrepreneurs have been entreated to be heavy on bookkeeping to attract some foreign investment. According to Project Officer for the International Trade Center, Theresa Ayesu, this is key in making accurate budgeting possible and enabling proper reporting to investors. She spoke to Joy Business at the opening ceremony of the Investor Marketplace Finance Forum.
Most often it's about stereotyping, also with a little background searches we did. We also realized that it is not really a challenge which probably they are facing with the financial institutions, but we also realize that some of them do not have good bookkeeping systems, because normally when you want to access any form of funding, the financiers look out for a lot of things, whether to see whether you have like good bookkeeping systems, and then also some look out for your business plan, your financial plan, off-taking plan, and stuff like that. So we've actually started working with most of these women. Some of them, this is actually their first time of being in an auditorium with all of us, right? This is based on the fact that we have some people who are actually beneficiaries of the United Kingdom Trade Partnership Project, and then we also decided to make it a nationwide project so that other people could actually benefit from this.
All right, and that's all for business. The news continues after this break.
Welcome back. Some Libyan returnees from the Bono region still harbor the desire to go back to the desert nation. The Bono youth went through irregular migration to Libya in search of greener pastures, but returned to Ghana for various reasons. However, most of the youth, in an exclusive interaction with JoyNews, declared their intention to travel back to Libya for better living conditions. According to them, the early economic hardship that forced them to travel through the desert to Libya has now become worse, a more compelling reason to go back to the desert.
The youth say they are ready to embark on the harrowing journey through the desert to Libya, although there are stability issues in that country. I was a farmer in Ghana, but things were hard for me. That is why I went to Libya. I was shot in the hand whilst on the way to work. So I came back to Ghana. I cultivated yam on large scale when I was in Ghana, but I could not build a house. I built this house when I was in Libya. If I had money, I would have gone back.
We are foreigner there. Unia hotote se uwu krum de ba bana djuma semwa djuma de emuye sen ha.
Working and getting paid in Libya is far better than Ghana.
We compare Ghana ha there because your Ghana ha na means nyina ekubi. When we heska yenya free me ne ehona ehode ehoye sen Ghana bibiri.
You can be the strongest person in Ghana, but you are paid a peanut.
But they didn't crack Nessana Ghana said the idea. You see, I'll be Libya, Wukita Crabe 7,000.
With the current hardship in Ghana, I am ready to spend 7,000 to 8,000 Ghana cedis to go back to Libya and continue to Italy.
See, I Nieman Society, Minyapadi and Kamako.
Yebi wa ha port no ya yebi Ghana yeluka wan wa ha so san kokko na mo krafiri amana ne de bre ha no na kufu so nti na ma ye de no kawo.
We had a poultry farm here in Ghana, but due to the imported chicken, our business collapsed. The cost of feed and drugs for the birds also became unbearable. So I decided to travel to Libya and see if life will get better. There is much liberty in Ghana, but working in Libya is far better. If the opportunity comes, I will go there again because the living condition has not changed here. It has gone from bad to worse. Nesta Kafui Ajoma reporting for JoyNews.
That's how we wrap up the bulletin this morning. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. You can log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. See you again at 12.